My name is Mila. I'm 30 years old. When I opened my eyes after a 9-hour spinal operation, everything felt distant, like I was surfacing from deep water. My throat burned. My lower back felt like it had been replaced with fire. The recovery room lights blurred above me. And then I saw my phone. It kept vibrating against the metal bedside tray, lighting up the dim hospital room again and again. I thought it was a glitch. It wasn't. 73 missed calls. No one calls that many times unless something is wrong. My hands were trembling as I unlocked it. There were voicemails stacked on top of each other, mostly from my father. I pressed play on the first one. His voice was calm. Too calm. "We handled everything. Don't stress. We sold your condo to cover your sister's wedding. You were under anesthesia, so we signed the documents for you." For a moment, I couldn't understand the words. My brain refused to connect them. Sold. My condo. $45,000 gone in an instant. I tried to sit up, but pain shot through my spine like shattered glass. That condo wasn't just property, it was years of double shifts, canceled trips, saying maybe next year to myself. It was my safety net. And while I was unconscious, cut open on an operating table, my parents decided it was negotiable. The surgery wasn't cosmetic. It wasn't optional. Nerve damage had worsened for months, and my doctor warned me I might permanently lose mobility if I waited longer. I remember my mother crying when I signed the hospital consent forms. I remember my father squeezing my hand, promising, "Focus on healing. We'll take care of everything." I believed them. I handed over my phone before anesthesia, thinking my boundaries would still exist while I slept. They didn't. When a nurse asked if I needed water, I asked for help sitting up so I could call home instead. Every movement felt impossible, but anger made it manageable. My father answered on the first ring. He sounded proud. And that's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a decision. And the worst part? They expected gratitude. But what they didn't know was that waking up from surgery wasn't the only thing I was about to recover, and they had no idea what I still had left. The days after that call passed in a haze of pain medication and physical therapy, but painkillers don't numb betrayal. A hospital social worker helped me request copies of the sale documents. I remember holding those papers in my shaking hands. My signature was there, but it wasn't mine. Slightly uneven, rushed, like someone had tried to imitate confidence they didn't possess. They hadn't even tried to hide it properly. Friends told me to focus on healing. Stress will slow recovery, they said. How do you relax when the ground under your future has been sold without permission? At night, when the hospital grew quiet, my thoughts became louder. Rehab bills, lost work time, complications, and a pattern I'd ignored for years. My sister always came first. Her celebrations, her emergencies, her dreams. My stability? Optional. This wasn't just about money, it was about consent, about being treated like a signature instead of a daughter. When I was discharged, I could barely walk with the brace strapped around my torso. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed with wedding updates, dress fittings, floral confirmations, seating charts. No one asked how I was recovering. They asked if I was over it. On the drive home, every bump in the road felt like lightning down my spine, and in that pain, something shifted inside me. They believed this would fade, that I would forgive quietly, that I would return to my role, dependable, silent, supportive. But they were wrong, because what they never knew was that the condo wasn't my only security. Years ago, after watching my parents co-sign loans for my sister while telling me to be independent, I made a quiet decision. I bought another property. Small, modest, fully paid, registered only under my name. No co-signers, no shared access, no discussions. My private safety net. And lying there in recovery, barely able to move, I realized something powerful. They thought they had stripped me of everything, but they hadn't. 3 days after leaving the hospital, still walking slowly, I made one call. Not to my parents, not to my sister, to a lawyer. And the moment he said the word fraud, I knew this story wasn't ending the way they imagined. But the real shock? It was still 3 weeks before the wedding, and I hadn't even begun. While my parents finalized catering menus and guest lists, my attorney filed paperwork, quietly, efficiently, strategically. He confirmed what I already suspected. Signing legal documents for someone who is unconscious and medically sedated is not family support. It's fraud. Because I had medical records proving incapacitation, the sale could be challenged, funds could be traced, transfers could be frozen. So we moved fast. The buyers were notified, the accounts were flagged, the transaction was halted before the wedding vendors were fully paid. I didn't celebrate. I waited. 2 days before the ceremony, my father appeared at my door. He didn't ask about my recovery. He demanded to know why the accounts were locked. I told him calmly. I woke up from surgery and decided to protect myself. The yelling started immediately. Reputation, embarrassment, family image. I let him exhaust himself. Then I said the only thing that mattered. You sold my property without consent. You forged my name. Now you face the consequences. He looked at me like someone new. Maybe I was. The next 48 hours were chaos. Vendors demanded payment, contracts were renegotiated, luxury downgraded to manageable. Whispers spread quickly among guests. My sister called me screaming, accusing me of sabotage. I reminded her gently that weddings built on stolen money don't stand very steady. She hung up. The ceremony still happened, smaller, simpler, stripped of excess. I didn't attend. I was home, standing without assistance for the first time since surgery. Months later, the legal process ended. The condo title was restored, records corrected, penalties issued. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it for boundaries. They never found out about my second property. That secret stayed mine. Because sometimes clarity costs you illusions. I didn't lose a condo. I lost the belief that love excuses betrayal, and what I gained instead was independence no one could ever sign away again. But if you think this was the end of my relationship with them, that's a story for another time.